Good Monday morning, and thank you for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get to your headlines. Today, the family of Mariah Samuels will be back in court, prepared to face the man convicted of killing her in September of last year. David Wright refused to show up for his sentencing on Friday, the hearing getting rescheduled. Audrey Russo's in the newsroom now with the reaction.
Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty described what happened Friday as something she's only seen a few times in her career. Her team asked that David Wright be dragged from his cell to face Mariah Samuels' family. Now, they were all there present in the courtroom on Friday, as they were throughout the nearly month-long trial. Now, Wright's first-degree murder conviction carries an automatic life sentence without the possibility of parole. Samuel's family, some of whom traveled from out of town, were prepared to make their victim impact statement. The judge, however, citing safety concerns, pushed that sentencing to 2:30 this afternoon.
What about us?
2:30 on Monday.
All of us have mental health too. That he caused.
As with domestic abusers, it's so typical for them to try to control the narrative. That's exactly what he did, is control the narrative.
So they'll have their chance to make their victim impact statement today. The Minneapolis Police Department, meantime, ordered all officers be retrained in how to handle domestic violence cases as a result of this case. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you. New video this morning showing a powerful 7.7 rattling the coast of northern Japan. Towers shaking and tsunami alarms blaring during rush hour today. Right now, there are tsunami warnings in place with waves expected to reach 9 feet high. So far, there are no reports of any major damage or injuries. We're going to follow this story, of course, all day right here on Kare 11 Plus. Developing now, President Trump says that U.S. forces hit and seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship that allegedly attempted to breach a U.S. naval blockade. The incident underscores how fragile the ceasefire remains, with both sides accusing the other of violations. NBC's Bofta Yamam has the latest details from Washington.
This major escalation leaves questions about the 2-week ceasefire, which is set to expire Wednesday. And tonight, key U.S. officials plan for another round of peace talks. Meanwhile, the war continues to spike energy costs, with prices at the pump jumping once again. President Donald Trump says the U.S. Navy fired on, seized, and then boarded an Iranian-flagged cargo ship. He says it attempted to evade the U.S. blockade in the Gulf of Oman. Trump announcing the U.S. has full custody of the ship and blew a hole in the engine room after giving it fair warning to stop.
You need to get Iran back to the place that they agreed to in 2015-16, that they would never seek to acquire or develop nuclear weapons. They agreed to that. Donald Trump tore that up.
Iran imposed its own restrictions and traffic remained at a near standstill Sunday. Iran allegedly opened fire on 2 Indian-flagged ships over the weekend.
So let me just ask you, is the U.S. Navy in charge of the Strait of Hormuz? Who specifically is in charge right now?
Well, but that's the point. The Strait of Hormuz is an international waterway. Unlike what the Iranians are trying to claim, they've even moved the goalposts and are now claiming that it's a waterway of theirs, which is an absolute violation of international law. Ultimately, it's the U.S. Navy and President Trump that decides what comes in and what comes out.
If Iran and the U.S. don't strike a deal, President Trump has threatened to wipe out civilian infrastructure.
Everything's on the table.
Amid the major escalation, U.S. negotiators plan to head to Pakistan on Monday, but it appears Iran hasn't agreed to show up. On Sunday, state news reporting that any confirmation of a second round of negotiations in Islamabad is not true. Meanwhile, a separate ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon is still holding at this hour. In Washington, Bofta Imam, NBC News.
And let's take a look at the latest NBC News Decision Desk poll numbers this morning, showing President Trump's approval rating is sinking. 37% of adults polled say they approve of the president's performance in his second term so far. That's a new low. 63% disapprove. More than 2/3 polled disapprove of Trump's handling of the Iran war, with a third approving. Nearly the same amount of adults believe the U.S. should not take any further military action in Iran. 74% of people under 30 say they want the war to end. When it comes to the economy, 32% of adults say they approve of how the president is handling inflation and the cost of living. 68% disapprove. Nearly the same amount polled say they think the country is on the wrong track, up 2% from the previous poll back in January. This morning, police have identified the man accused of killing 8 children in Shreveport, Louisiana, just 24 hours ago. Police say Shamar Elkins killed 7 of his own children and another child, all under 14 years old. 2 other women are fighting for their lives this morning, including Elkins' wife. This all happened around 6 Sunday morning. After the shootings, police say Elkins carjacked someone and led police on a chase to the next town over, where police shot and killed him.
How do we get through this? How do we get to the next level? It is real and this is raw, and these are the tragedies when there are domestic violence or domestic disturbances in our community.
Just an absolute tragic story. Police are investigating what led up to the shooting. Also this morning, Iowa City police are asking for help identifying 5 people connected to a mass shooting. This happened during a fight at a popular outdoor mall yesterday morning. 5 people were hurt, including 3 University of Iowa students. 1 person is still in critical condition. No arrests have been made. Right now, the state is taking legal action against a North Minneapolis church for allegedly misusing millions in grant funds. According to court documents, the Department of Human Services says Zion Baptist Church was paid to provide services the state believes were not offered, and now they're trying to get that money back. DHS says the church accepted nearly $2.5 million for mental health, substance use, and violence prevention programs. But the agency says the paperwork they got back had inconsistencies and billing mistakes, which raised some concerns. So far, the church has not responded to the lawsuit. Meanwhile, this morning, laid-off workers are heading back to Cardamom at the Walker Art Museum for another day of protests. This comes after the museum cut ties with the restaurant over its decision to fire employees and move to a QR code service model. Workers say they're fighting for better layoff practices and priority hiring at other company locations.
This industry is built on the backs of people, everyday people, regular people, and we don't want to be dehumanized. We certainly don't want to be replaced with a QR code, and we think it's pretty clear that guests don't want that either.
Cardamom will close in the next 90 days. In a statement, the restaurant's owner says most of the impacted employees were offered a chance to stay with the new system. In this morning's Communities at Kare, we're highlighting Jessie Diggins, the most decorated American cross-country skier and Minnesota native, celebrating her career in front of a big crowd of fans at Allianz Field. Joe McCoy has that story.
When you are paying tribute to the best,
Love that.
you first have to look like the best.
She's just wow. Like, I think she's really amazing.
A couple thousand people
She's a huge inspiration.
celebrating the illustrious career of the glitter queen and most decorated American cross-country skier of all time.
Just feel so inspired by her.
Jessie Diggins.
That's really the end goal here, was to grow the sport and inspire people and talk about the importance of taking care of yourself.
The Afton native hung up the skis a few weeks ago, following 90 World Cup podiums, 3 Tour de Ski victories, and 4 Olympic medals, including a bronze in Milan.
It truly isn't about winning, it's about going out there and challenging yourself and being part of a team and being part of something bigger than yourself.
Diggins, known for her endurance and grit, transformed American cross-country skiing and inspired the next generation.
I do downhill, but I swear I'm gonna learn how to cross country now.
A tribute and send-off to a legend as she begins her next chapter.
I'm getting into speaking. I want to keep being an advocate and keep talking about things that are important to me and keep inspiring people.
I think she's been a really big inspiration of just like building the sport. I mean, like, look at all these people that are out here.
At Allianz Field, Joe McCoy, Kare 11 News.
Stick with us. More news and weather coming up right after the break.